on returning to oneself. I have bad news and I have good news. Which do we normally ask for first? I would venture to say the bad, usually. So here it is. On giving birth to suffering, the bad news is that all of us, without exception, often feel lost. We feel loneliness. We feel pain. And so, we suffer. Now the good news is the truth. And the truth is, we are not suffering because of the world. Hear me out. Quote, our mother dying, our sister crying, our children in squalors, no food, no dollars, a life in flames, our father pains, the world is chains, a shattered life, enormous strife. But listen first. Judge not with laughter. We are not cursed. For there is life hereafter. End quote. Karam Das. Yes, I know, it hurts. But without hearing the question, one cannot possibly expect to know the answer. We suffer because of how we think about the world. We are not suffering because we believe we are alone. We suffer because of what we believe about being alone. We suffer from our thoughts. And we believe our thoughts to be true. But are they? They are not. They are not true. They are not us. Quote, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. End quote. Haruki Murakami. Quote, you are not the mind. The mind is a bundle of thoughts. End quote. Ramana Maharshi. On raising the curtain. What we think of as reality is in fact not. We take life too seriously. We treat what we see with our eyes as the full story. But our senses are limited. They deceive us. They do not show us truth. They show us surfaces. We do not see atoms. We do not see energy. We do not see the interconnection between all things. We see only the Maya world, the illusion of separation. And yet, we accept what we sense, what we see, as reality. Quote, things are not what they appear to be, nor are they otherwise. End quote. Lankavatara Sutra. Quote, when we realize how perfect everything is, we tilt our heads back and laugh at the sky. End quote. Buddha, Gautama Siddhartha on echoes in the void. When we live in the past, we suffer depression. When we live in the future, we suffer anxiety. Only in this moment, right now, is there peace. But the mind wants to escape this moment. It says, we should have done more yesterday, or we are going to fail tomorrow. And so we suffer in moments that do not even exist. Quote, "The past is already gone. The future is not yet here. There's only one moment for us to live." End quote. Thich Nhat Hanh. Quote, "Realize deeply that the present moment is all we ever have." End quote. Eckhart Tolle on the Unanswerable Question. Most of us do not know why we are here. We follow routines. We raise families. We work. But we rarely ask, what are we? Why were we born? What is this all for? This absence of meaning becomes a hollow ache, a spiritual loneliness that no partner, possession, or achievement can ever fill. Quote, "To know yourself, you must question everything you've been taught." End quote. Nisargadatta Maharaj on the voice which betrays. When we identify with thoughts like, "I am alone," we become trapped in the pain that thought creates. But this pain is only the echo of belief, not the truth itself. We mistake the voice in our head for who we are. And so, we suffer its moods, its judgments, its stories. But this same mind, left unchecked, can destroy our peace. Quote, "The world is nothing but our own magnified mind." End quote. Swami Muktananda. Quote, "Comfort is no test of truth. Truth is often far from being comfortable." End quote. Swami Vivekananda. Quote, "The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain." End quote. Khalil Gibran on the lens of the observer. But what if nothing is wrong? What if pain is not punishment, but passage? What if loneliness is not exile, but initiation? Suffering arises when we forget we are the observer. The way in which we see things determines the world we live in. When we step back and observe our thoughts without clinging, we discover that suffering cannot survive the light of awareness. Quote, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. End quote. Buddha Gautama Siddhartha. Quote, as we think, so shall we become. End quote. Bruce Lee. The observer sees clearly, and so creates wisely. To observe the mind is not to deny it. It is to reclaim our place behind it as witness. And from that witnessing, joy becomes possible again. On the fire which forges, fire may burn your skin, but it can also strengthen iron. It may destroy your house, but it also forged the bricks and steel which built it in the first place. The blacksmith does not fear the fire. The chef does not fear the flame. They use it with skill, with timing, with respect. The yogi in the forest feeds the fire with dry leaves and wood. For warmth on cold nights, for lighting their way through the darkness, for a method of cooking their supper. Yet, they do not offer their hand as fuel. Yes, they revere the fire, yet they are the master of it. Just as we revere the universe, but are the masters of it as well. Pain may burn, but it can also build. Quote, pain is the price of becoming whole. End quote. Carl Jung on the invisible work. We train our bodies, we train our minds, but how often do we train the observer of the mind, the soul? We hit the gym, we go learn at school, we do our work at our jobs. We do so much for the external, real world. But when do we take time to go within? Isn't that where actual reality resides? Meditation is not some mystical or arduous task. Contemplate on the fire which flows. Have you ever said to yourself, oh my, where did the time go? I'm sure we all have at some point. It is what the blacksmith knows when hammer meets steel, what the sculptor feels when clay transforms, what the chef tastes when fire and knife move as one. It is not about using their senses alone. That flow state. It is simply becoming quiet enough to witness the flow of thought, not holding on to it, good or bad, but observing it come and go. The river doesn't suddenly stop, or change direction, or take a break. It keeps moving along, all the way to the ocean, just as we are doing now, on our way to, as Kabir put it, the ocean of love. Quote, "When we do something, we should burn ourselves completely like a good bonfire, leaving no trace of ourselves." End quote. Shunryu Suzuki. Quote, "The quieter we become, the more we can hear." End quote. Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi. On softening the stone, pain is not a sign of failure. Difficulty is not proof of weakness. If life were easy, it would not shape us. As a jagged stone is smoothed by the waves crashing ashore, he's just a little rough around the edges. We've all heard this before. Without sorrow, there would be no joy. Without darkness, no light. Quote, "The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain." End quote. Khalil Gibran. Quote, "Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars." End quote. Khalil Gibran. Quote, "Happiness and distress come and go like the seasons. Endure them without being disturbed." End quote. Bhagavad Gita. "Sorrow hollows us out, but only so we may hold more light. The waves don't destroy the stone, they soften it until its sharpness no longer harms the hand that touches it." Our challenge is not to resist pain, but to walk through it with awareness. Quote, "When one's heart is hard, nothing and no one can enter." End quote. Karam Das. On the way home. Pain awakens us. It calls us inward. It pulls away what is false and leaves what is true. Quote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." End quote. Carl Jung. You are not the storm. You are the entire sky, observing its passing. We are never truly lost in life, although we sometimes may think so. On the contrary, we are constantly and consistently forging a path forward, wherever it may lead. After all, we are always moving, breathing in and out. Yet, we forget one cannot be certain of the destination before the journey has even begun. We are not the thoughts that echo in our minds. We are not the emotions that rise from them. We are not the wounds they may leave behind. We cannot deny our pain. It is there, it is real, but only because we make it so. So then, we can also make it not so. Suffering is a two-sided coin. It is one of our greatest obstacles, and yet it is also our most loving teacher. It leads us quietly, persistently back to ourselves. The universe is whispering to us, and if we are still, we may hear it. It says, "This way." The masters hear the call, and thus they attained the goal. We are no different than they were. As a cub is no different than a mature lion. It is only a matter of time. We all get there, sooner or later, and that is enough.